Hello, my name is Kirioth, and oh Jesus, I've just noticed the colours on my camera are severely mangled, so my face is currently the same colour as my t-shirt. Oh dear. Anyway, we'll just ignore that. I'm not dying. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So today we are going to talk about the happy and wonderful subject of death. No, not actual death. I'm just talking Warhammer 40,000, obviously, because why? I want to know, because I have my own thoughts on this. I don't want to know what your thoughts on it are. Who should Games Workshop kill? In terms of established characters, in terms of actual people who are important to the game, to the universe, to the plot of Warhammer 40,000, who should Games Workshop kill? If you actually had to say to them, this dude's got to go, which dude would it be? And the reason I've been thinking about this is when I made Wednesday's video, which was asking you guys what army I should play, and I'm still reading through the comments for that, and I'm trying to work out which race sort of got the most votes, as it were, got the most recommendations. Although people also recommended things like Imperial Guard, which isn't a Xenos race, which is fine, but now I keep looking at Imperial, like with nicely painted Imperial Guard armies and going, oh, that looks awesome, I could have one of those. So thank you in the most sarcastic way, because you've made it worse. I didn't know which of like 3 or 4 races to pick, and then you made it worse. Also add mech. People go, oh, add mech are really close to Xenos, they're so alien to the rest of Imperium. It's just more confusing now than it ever was. Anyway, whilst I was doing that video, I was talking about the fact I had a 13th Company army, and the fact that, you know, it used to be an actual army. It had its own rules, and it was in the Eye of Terror Codex, which I was correct about. I went and googled it. I was absolutely right. Thank God for that. And and it kind of got me thinking about some of the backlash that I've seen against I believe it was the original 13th Black Crusade, although something in the back of my head says it might have been the 12th Black Crusade, which was when the 13th Company army in Codex Eye of Terror appeared. And I think it was the 13th, the first 13th, because we've just had another 13th Black Crusade. It's been retconned hardcore, as Games Workshop like to do occasionally. And that was an interesting time to be playing the game, because there was like a big global campaign where the Imperium and Chaos were facing off against each other. Things like Orcs and Tau and Necrons, you know, they were slotted into good or evil, kind of. I can't remember what they did with Tyranids, because let's face it, Tyranids don't give a shit either way. But everyone had loads of battles, the results were tallied up, and then they were sent off to Games Workshop, and then Games Workshop were like, Chaos wins. They have now moved slightly closer to Cadia, which I'm pretty sure that was the end result of that, which was not the most satisfying end to that particular little adventure, but there you go. And of course, this version of the 13th Black Crusade, the Gathering Storm. Massive rift all the way across the Imperium. There's the Dark Imperium, whatever the hell it's called, that would have been on one side where everything's just shitty and being infested by demons and God knows what else. It's a lot better. But in the wake of the original 13th or 12th Black Crusade, whichever one it was, Abaddon got a bit of flack. Old Abaddon the Despoiler, the War Master, the leader of the Black Legion. He got a bit of flack, and looking into it a bit, that flack has not really subsided. He's become a little bit of a running joke at this point. And in a way, it's kind of sad, because Abaddon as a character is actually kind of badass when you look into it. When you read past the surface level of he launched 13 Black Crusades and one of them achieved something, which is the narrative that admittedly Games Workshop has not helped to do anything about, he's actually kind of awesome. You know, he plays the game in a way that no one else on Chaos' side does. He manages to bring together warbands and legions and form these massive fleets, these colossal armies that he then sends into Imperial space and does real damage. And he seems to be the only one really capable of doing that so far, on that scale anyway. He is also not a demon prince. He's not like massively infused by the power of Chaos, because he keeps the Chaos Gods at arm's length unless he particularly needs them, at which point he does accept a measure of power, and then finds a way to get away with not giving them what they want. He is very much just... I don't know, he's one of the better characters in the universe, but he doesn't get any credit for it because of the way he's been set up. Because, you know, he has to lose. That's how it works. You cannot have him actually throw the Emperor off the Golden Throne and ascend to rule mankind, because that would ruin the setting, it would wreck everything, it would make no fucking sense whatsoever. So he has to fail. And it's worse than the Demon Primarchs, because to me the Demon Primarchs are mostly failures. Because they haven't fucking done anything. I mean, Pachurabos helped with a couple of Black Crusades, Angron's had a party on Armageddon, Lorgar has been meditating for like 10,000 years, Mortarian's been doing God knows what, faffing about with the soul of his adopted dad in a jar, just tormenting it for the crack. Fulgrim has been lying around on a throne made of living velvet, which is the grossest line of anything I've ever read. By the way, I can't remember which thing that was in. It might have been the Gathering Storm book itself, the campaign book. But when it talks about Fulgrim on a throne of living velvet, that is worse than anything in the Death Guard Codex. The Death Guard Codex is cartoony as fuck. You've got the noxious plague crawler and the bloody malignant pox caster and the shambling pox shaman and all that kind of nonsense. Living velvet? Horrible. Anyway, they are failures in that they've just not fucking done anything. They've just sat there. They've just sat on their arsehole doing nothing for thousands of years. Abaddon has got out there and done stuff, but it's not worked out properly, or at least the motivations for what he was doing and his aims were not clearly communicated enough, so it looks like he fucked it up over and over again, even if he actually didn't. As a result, his reputation as a badass character is now dead. It's gone. It doesn't really exist anymore, which is shitty because he's actually pretty cool. And when I was reading the little spoilers and the rumours about Gathering Storm, God, so many rumours, which most of them bullshit, but it's fun to speculate, right? Isn't it? And I saw things where it's like, oh, Cypher's going to kill Abaddon, and at first I was like, fuck off, is Cypher going to kill Abaddon? Why would Cypher kill it? What? Do they have a particular beef that I'm unaware of, Cypher and Abaddon? It was just a weird choice. I could see Abaddon dying, and I was actually okay with it, but Cypher doing it, that's a discussion for a different day, though. When I read that Abaddon was going to die in Gathering Storm, which, I mean, so far he doesn't seem to have done, I kind of wasn't bothered. I was like, if anyone needs to go in Warhammer 40k, I think it might be him. I think it might be Abaddon, because he's just unsalvageable to the vast majority of the fan base now. He's gone from being an interesting and powerful character to like a bit of a shitty, whiny guy who occasionally lashes out and then does nothing. You know, he doesn't achieve. Which is a problem, because if he's supposed to be the fucking poster boy for chaos, and he's supposed to be, you know, one of the most powerful warlords that chaos has ever known, and all of that, having him fuck up constantly kind of erodes his sense of authority. But then I got to thinking to myself, well, why limit it to him? He is possibly salvageable, but probably not. And so killing him off, I think, wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, provided they're able to replace him with someone that people actually liked. Huron Blackheart is a good example of that. He would actually I think he'd be quite a good War Master if that ever did happen. But then it got me thinking, like, who else should die? Who else in Warhammer 40k would I be okay with them killing off? And I've got a couple of thoughts, to be honest. One of which is Lucius, because I just don't like Lucius. He's just really I just don't like his character. It's really boring. It's not interesting. It's not compelling. I would be I'd be there. I'd be like, oh, they killed him. Great. Why does anyone give a shit in the first place about that guy? There's already a video on that. I'll link it in the description or something. But the other one, Kaldor Drago. I hate his last name. He suffers from, I think, every writing problem known to man. He's too strong, by far. He's way too strong. He is seemingly invincible. He's also some sort of crazy genius, and he also is not really able to affect anything except in the worst possible ways, like the most bullshit, annoying ways, because of the way that he's locked into the warp. So he got banished to the warp and occasionally turns back into real space and, fucks stuff up, and then he disappears off into the warp again, where he battles for all eternity through the hordes of demons that Chaos throw at him, one man, by himself, forever. It would sound great if there was any hint that at any point he would not succeed, but he's been written in such an obscenely Mary Sue fashion that he's just awful. Like, there is no compelling reason for me to hear anything that Khal Drago does. I just don't care about him at all. If he died, it would be the best thing that Games Workshop could possibly do with that character, because it would finally give him some depth. Him dying would actually make him more interesting than the entirety of the time that he's been alive. And so far, to be honest, those are my only 3. In terms of characters that I would be okay with them killing, I can only off the top of my head think Abaddon, because he's just been shafted in terms of story and now he just doesn't command the respect he should. Lucius, because he's just kind of a shitty, boring character. A character that can just, even if he loses, it doesn't matter because he just wins anyway. That's really dull to me. That's really boring. Khal Drago is just insufferably overpowered. Like, it's not even remotely interesting to read about him. Those 3 characters, though, are the only ones I can think that I'd be like, nice, good decision. But it got me wondering, what do you guys think? Is there a character in Warhammer 40,000 that you could just see die and you wouldn't mind? Is there any character that you actively wish that Games Workshop would kill off and replace? Is there a character that you think is too powerful or just too weak to be in the position they're in? Or is there a character that you're just sick of hearing about because they're in everything and you just want them gone? I'd be really interested to hear what you think about this, because we don't get massive deaths in 40k very often. There's a fairly static roster of characters, and if deaths did start flying around, I'd love to know which people you thought should be on the receiving end of those deaths. Let me know in the comments below. Meantime, thank you very much for watching. As always, there's a load of bullshit all over the screen. There always is at the end of the videos. You know this. There's like a Patreon thing and a subscribe thing, and there's videos down the bottom. All of that shit. And yeah, I will see you next time. Toodaloo.